Hey there, it's Chris, and welcome back to part 19 of the Bang Shishigami project, where last couple times we've been making a whole lot of different changes on this. So recently we'd done the pants, we'd done the belt. Immediately after doing that, we'd gone and made the face and head. So we kind of jumped around a little bit, hardened all that actually on camera last time, so that we can now piece him together. And yeah, you could already tell where we're going, so we've already seen the title name of this one. We're going to be doing the hands next. So the question is, why would I do that and not the others? And first off, I would like to get the hair. I'll be honest, I would like to have the hair done. The head is misshapen on purpose right now. Again, our hair is, when we do the hair, this gives us a little room to play with on that. But the hair comes down onto the scarf. The scarf then, so we need the scarf first. So I'll be honest, at this point, if you've ever heard of, say, bald bull here, well, be prepared, because for a while, you're going to be dealing with bald bang. It's what it's going to be for a while. Because we need the scarf before we can do the hair, because the hair comes down on top of that in the back a little bit. But we can't do the scarf until we get the sleeves on this jacket done. And sleeves on that jacket have a little bit of an issue, because if you look in here, you can't really see where the jacket, where the kind of the sleeve part starts and the jacket goes in. We come again here, the sleeves kind of go up and those big shoulder guards just kind of come out. And again, there's no real easy way to see how it connects. We come to another, once again, you can't really see. So where the sleeves on his jacket ends and where the shoulder guards come up is a lot like Jotaro Joestar, where you can't really tell where the hat stops and the hair starts. It's kind of ambiguous how things work out. And that's kind of the same way here is too. So I want to get the sleeves brought in first before I then do the jacket kind of shoulder pads on top. So in order to do the hair, we need the scarf. In order to do the scarf, we need those shoulder pads. In order to do the shoulder pads, we need the sleeves to come on. And when I do the arms, I tend to like to do the hands first and then work back towards the arm, if only because the hands are extremely kind of delicate when I do it. I've seen a lot of other people, they'll do the arms and just kind of go and boop, they can just kind of pop the hands on and that's fine. But I find if I try to boop these on like the end of something, because the fingers and stuff are so delicate, I run the risk of kind of squishing the fingers and squishing the hand in the act of doing that. So I like to do the hands first, and then I go and I build the arm out from that. So I want to get the hair, but we need to do literally everything else first. Hair is going to be pretty much the last thing done on him. The nail technically will be, but we need to do the hands in order to do the sleeves. We kind of want the sleeves and gauntlets are going to be done at the same time. We need those before we can do the shoulder pads and the jacket part, which we then will do the scarf, which will then lead to the hair. So that is where we're going to go with that. And now from this image, as you can see there, it's a little hard. Actually, it's a little harder on this one. Does one of the other ones make it easier to see the difference? You can see a little more difference. There are going to be 3 parts to this hand / gauntlet stuff that we need to deal with. The first, as you can see on the side, his fingers and hand has kind of like that, the black kind of more, I would say is the skin tight part of the hand. So we're going to do that first. On top of that, as you can see, behind the metal kind of plating stuff, the gauntlet's actually a little bit wider. So the fingers and stuff are like really kind of skin tight. Then as you get the big honking thing back here, then basically the sleeve part itself is a wider gauntlet area that will go on top. And then after that's done, I'll probably actually harden that part. And then we'll go and put the metal ring and all that, the metal work on both of the arms. Both of those arms there on top of that. And then the sleeves themselves come in from there. So I think of everybody I've seen, everybody does hands differently. And I definitely do it, I think, differently than a number of other people. So we're going to go with what I have found to be comfortable at this point. And just to give a better idea, we have another image of Bang here. It'll give us an idea of the back of the hand. He's got the little kind of knuckle guards and stuff going on. Now, actually, in terms of sizing, we really can't use this at all to try to judge size. And the reason for that is foreshortening. So if I have my hand here, woo, there we are, good kind of normal average size hand. If what's happening in the picture is foreshortening. So what's happening in the picture is if you tilt something towards the camera, all of a sudden the fingers are massive. You can't tell the size of anything. So this will give us an idea. This type of show, which we have going on the side there, isn't helping at all. So what I'm using is, I'm using a kind of blown up image of that on my computer to go with. I have this guy as life size, and I can use that to kind of figure out the size of the hand. And the width I went off wound up being about a 1/2 inch thick, or 1/2 inch wide. So we're really not going to need him today. We're not going to attach anything to him, kind of like the face. We need to do some, today's going to be the prep work for what's going to come in the future. And that said, I'm going to be doing both hands together today. Once, if only because this will help keep them the same size and scale with each other. And then once that part is done, then I can do each arm kind of separately and as it is. So to start off with, we had about a 1/2 inch wide, which I just kind of happened to randomly make it about a 1/2 inch wide. So that's thickness, I don't care. That matters not at all right now. Let's just get these the 1/2 inch. Squish it down. Length of this, I don't care. Thickness right now, our goal right now is basically going to be making the fingers. After the fingers go on, then we can actually kind of start the hand itself. But we need these fingers first. Everything starts with them. So there we go. We have another roughly 1/2 inch block we can go from. Oop, I just shrank it a little too much. And there we go. We have the basis of our two hands. They are, woohoo, they're the same size. They look different because one's a little longer than the other. Whatever, we don't care. That's not going to matter. So we can now set those aside. And no longer need that anymore. What we do need now are fingers. And so what I do is we just roll this down, try to provide even pressure throughout the whole thing. Nice and neat, kind of go through. And we need this to be about 1/4 the size of each. Good. We're going to need to fit 4 fingers on top of this. Thumb goes on separate. So we need 4 fingers worth of space to fit on this guy. And I want to have a big long piece here so that if it works, I don't need to re-roll this out. I know everything is already kind of uniform size. And I can just kind of go with that. But that should be pretty close to what we need. So let's go, as usual, take the end off. We usually don't want the ends. And it doesn't really matter how long I make these. So let's just go and cut a bunch of these guys to size. Just so we all have something to work with. Again, I want 8 of these total because I'm going to have 2 hands worth that I'm going to make with this. I guess I could make 2 of them a little smaller because they're going to be pinkies. This is actually getting a little bit thicker. I got a little thicker by the end here. So let's re-roll that out so it's back to the same thickness as the others. You're just a little bit thicker as well. And we can bring that back in. Okay. That actually worked out scarily well. That worked out really, really well. Okay, so we have 1 hand's worth over there, and we have a hand's worth over here. So, because we just cut them, we have cylinders. I want to put a little bit of a nail kind of on it, so I'm just going to squish one side just a little bit, just to kind of give it a nicer edge. So we can kind of eventually turn that into a fingernail or thereabouts. I'm still not great at detailing hands. Again, along with the face, this would be the second thing if I were to just like spend time trying to improve my stuff. Hands would probably be, face and hands are the two things on the list that I think would be worth putting time into to get right. I'm getting better over time, but I know they're still not 100% perfect. But I have a system. It took a long time to get the system. I went through like 5, 6, 7 models before I got to like a system that kind of works. I completely just gave up on like the first 3 or 4. Then I started working a little bit, and then from there I started figuring out what I actually want to accomplish with these. Thankfully, my second one was like just clenching a fist, which made life a little bit easier. Which actually, on you. So your front hand, we're going to be doing the left hand first, the wah kind of hand first. Then we're going to go to the other one second. So I do want to do the easier one first. Again, what I mean by this one being easier, they both you would think would be the same. But this one is its own element out. It's away from everything else. I can get around it nice and easy. This one is a little more compact. It's more kind of tucked in here, so it's a little harder to get around stuff. So I want to deal with the easy one first, build confidence on that, and then shift to the other. Normally at work, I tend to do the opposite. If I'm doing something, I tend to want to do the harder one first, so it kind of gives like a little kind of reward of, oh, I can finish on an easier something. It makes me have something I want to strive for to get done. But in here, I want to have something visually good going on relatively quick. And I just want to make sure I can get things to work correctly in a more controlled environment before I shift over into a more difficult environment. Which is essentially how the order of operations I've done a lot of my models in. It's like my first one was, I should probably print her out at some point, my Lamisa one, where it looks like it's this complicated shape. She's kind of standing up, like arms are flailing out, the legs are separate. The reason I chose that one first was because the arms are flailing out. They are their own separate elements. Because the legs are like spread out and doing something, they were their own separate element. I didn't have to worry about, say, crossed legs or something where you have or two parts, like body parts, like an arm is to a side, where all of a sudden you have to kind of get into an odd area. My goal when I'm doing something new is to isolate the new element that I'm doing. So there are reasons I do the types of models that I do. I don't like this pinky. This pinky is too skinny. Thankfully, we have a way to fix that. Yeah, so pretty much each new model I then wind up doing kind of brings, at least for a while, would bring something new to the table. And I would kind of bring them out in kind of sequential order. I mean, I started like where every element was apart from each other. The next one I kind of had the arms were, I did a Saria one where the arms are all kind of at her side. I did Rydia after that, where it's kind of, she had kind of like the leotard thing going on. So I had to work with, okay, just a body form, but again, the arms, the hands being on the hips meant like the shoulders and arms and stuff were all kind of away from other body elements. It's like each one I went through was done in such a way, I just wanted to smooth that out a little bit, not actually widen it. Each one was done for a specific purpose of isolating an area I wanted to work from. It was a character I wanted to do in the first place, but then it was done to isolate a specific goal I had in mind when it came to actually, okay, fingers right now are too long. I don't want them sticking out that far. We want them to actually look a little short right now. I definitely want these to come across as feeling short, because we will rectify that as this goes on. Kind of like if you were going to a food factory, you ever seen like one of those types of things? Like, let's say they're making Oreos or whatnot. When they go down the assembly line, my understanding is they aren't circular when they go down. They're actually ovals as they go down the line. And the speed of production and the speed of the things moving will eventually put enough force on these or on them to turn them circular by the end. So right now I can start with shorter fingers, and by the time we go through this process in the end, they will come out to the size that I want them to be. So there we go. We have 4 fingers now on here, and we're just going to smush them down a little bit. I'm not going to do the full thing on this. I'm going to kind of put the other one together as well. But we're just going to do a rough smushing right now, just so it's here. Okay, so we have our hand number 1. Now, remember, this is our pinky. That's our ring finger. That's our index finger. Because we don't want to have 2 like left hands going on here. Yes, that is actually a left hand. Had to double check that to make sure I'm actually saying the right thing. Okay, so you're coming out about the same. That was our pinky. Let's make our ring finger. We got our middle finger. Comes out a little longer. And we got our index. And I think our pinky wants to come back just a little bit. And there we go. We have hand number 2. Or at least our finger lineup number 2. Now when the magic happens on this, it's going to happen really quick. It's going to kind of instantly change from what the heck is that to, hey, there's the basis of a hand. It will take some more work to turn it into an actual hand, but this will transform fairly quick. And it's going to transform right about now. So we have that going. So now, this whole thick palm thing going on, we don't need that anymore. All I wanted was a mass of clay that was wide enough to hold the fingers. That was it. So now the rest of this can go. That's gone. I can even make that a little bit skinnier. Again, the one thing I don't want to do right now is put pressure on the fingers themselves. That would be bad. Okay, so now we have fingers who are no way attached to the palm of the hand, so it's time to change that. And this is why we made the fingers slightly smaller than they had to be, because now as I come in and I blend things, this is going to lengthen the fingers out just a little bit. And that little bit is going to be why we wanted it just a little bit short in the first place. Yeah, I'm gonna guess this is gonna be one of those kind of slower paced videos, but it's probably gonna be more of the educational ones if you don't have a system of your own to do this with. So be prepared for that going through. But in the end of this, we will hopefully, if I did things right, wind up with something that approximates what we want to be. Because fingers are one of those very fickle things where if you start to overwork something, it's really hard to come back on these because they're so delicate and you start overworking something, it's really hard to get them back in. So my goal is to do as little as I can to them in order for it to work. Because the more you get, the worse it gets. So all I'm doing right now is just blending. And this is that my left hand? This is the left hand. This is the one that does actually kind of matter a little bit. The other one's going to matter less because the other hand is clenched. Again, if we come back to here, and my computer listens to me, the other hand is clenched. It's a fist. So if I don't get the inside right, it's not going to matter as much. This one is going to matter a little more if I get it right or wrong. So we are going, we are going to strive to get this correct. Alright, so we're just smoothing. get this pinky kind of in here, and that gives us a basis for the hand. It's not perfect, but it gives us the basis from which to work from. We are still missing a couple key components to make this actually feel right. So, okay, if I'm doing this, I'm putting extremely little pressure on here, because the last thing I want to do is put pressure on it and have the fingers extend in a direction. That is very, very bad if that happens. So we do what we can to have that not happen. Now the back of the hand still looks like hot garbage, but at least now we're getting something approximating what we want on the palm. So again, in the interest of doing this, of keeping, at least today's, I'm doing them both together. When like I said, when I actually put them on the model, I'm going to do each arm 100% separately. I will do the left arm first from start to finish after this session. But once again, we pull that off. This extra clay we don't need. And now we go back to cutting a little more of that off, because that's still more than what we need. And I see I'm starting on the index finger this time, or index finger this time rather than the other way around. It makes no difference which side you start from. It's just whichever feels more comfortable at the given point in time that you're doing it. That is it. This is definitely one of those where you want to do something in as easy a mode of what feels right or whatever as you can. This isn't one of those where you're going to keep changing things around just because things are so delicate. Work with what works. Okay, so I'm applying just enough pressure to blend the clay without trying to put pressure on it to actually extend anything. That would be not good. Alright, so now we got the middle finger done. Now we get the ring finger. Sorry if I'm not talking right now, it's just a little bit of concentrating. I feel bad, I know I'm a couple days late on this, but yeah, happy summer. There are a couple of those like little happy things I kind of meant to mention. I meant to say Happy Father's Day when that came around, but I completely mixed up the fact that Father's Day was like a week early this year. So I would have been saying Happy Father's Day at this point, because this, I believe, is coming out on Sunday. But instead, I get to make that announcement on Father's Day, because right now actually is Father's Day. So a week late on that one. But I can say happy summer. I know summer started a couple days ago by the time this is released. It still hasn't happened yet, but I believe, yeah, that would have been this past Friday. But yeah, we're there. So okay, so now we got ourselves a couple starts, a couple blanks on hands. We have our left hand, we have our right hand. Probably want some thumbs on this. I think that would probably be thumbs might be helpful. Thumbs may be helpful for this. So get ourselves a little kind of thumbish looking thing. I can bring it down here. And you can see, you look at your own thumb, it doesn't come up much past where the finger actually starts. So as I bring my hand off the camera there, that's helpful. So we can start with something like that. And now this one gets tougher to kind of put on, because now as I squeeze this in, it's going to thin out this hand. And this is why I don't care about the wrist. This is just kind of like probably extend down over time. And I don't really care about that. If it wants to do that, that's fine. I can cut that to size. I can do whatever I want on that aspect. The palm is getting thinner as I do this, but I'm going to be adding more ridges and stuff to the palm as this goes as well. So I'm not concerned about that. The only thing I'm really concerned about is the fingers themselves. I just don't want bad things to happen to the fingers themselves. The other stuff, I don't care as much. So we're going to add a little bit up here. Yeah, so I got to start looking at the actual calendar more, not just assuming when things are happening. If I want to actually give messages to stuff for when videos go out, because yep, failed that one completely. Whoops. Oh well. All right, we now have a thumb on that. Again, we're still a little rough. We're not 100% there. We're in the process of getting this right, but we're not there yet. But let's go ahead and do the other hand. Also probably wants a thumb. So let's go ahead and do that. Wow, look at the clock. We are half hour in. I think I took like the first 5 or 7 minutes or whatever of just randomly talking about stuff and not actually doing stuff. So cool. And once again, I am always on this one going to double check, do the double and triple check thing. I'm putting things on the correct side. Because I don't want to have to redo things if I don't have to. That always feels bad. Which also means before I put these hands on the model itself, believe me, I'm going to be double and triple checking the lengths of the arms and all that, because I have definitely done models where I got the measurements wrong on the arm lengths. You put everything together and it's just you feel like you have ET arms going on, and it's a bad feeling. It's oh, I gotta redo everything now. I gotta cut the hands off. I gotta cut the forearms off. I gotta redo all this. No, I don't want to deal with that again. So if I can get this stuff correct the first time, I would be much appreciative of that. Now again, this hand is going to matter a little less, because when I go and kind of put it in a clenched fist form, a number of things will change as a result of that. But that might be this session, that might not be. Again, this session I wanted to have this done just so the two are in scale. The two are now pretty much in scale. So there's not much more I'm going to do with that part. I mean, they are generally there. So now if you look again at your hand, what you're going to have is you have kind of this sticks up, you have the line here sticks up, and a little more subtly is on the outside where this is sunk in. So we kind of want to have a little bit of that going just on the left hand here. The right hand doesn't, again, because the right hand is going to be clenched. You're not going to see any of that. But on the left hand, we kind of do want to make that a little more correctly. So we're going to put a little extra padding kind of down in here. We're going to put just a little extra padding. We already have a little padding up top by the fingers as a result of the way I cut things and whatnot. So I don't really need too much up here. But let's see if we can't make this, get the underside of here kind of looking okay. And then we'll flip this over and start on the back side. And the back side is again where a lot of the glove aspect is going to come. So we also need to keep in mind the thumb comes out a little bit. Thumb is extended out from the wrist. So the wrist is really skinny. The wrist is actually skinnier than the hand part itself. So we need to keep that in mind when doing this. And that's easy enough to deal with. And again, the wrist, I'm not going to worry. The wrist will actually be done when physically attaching the hand to the wrist and forearm. So yes, it's something to keep in mind, but at this point in time, it's not really a concern. It's in the back of my mind, but I'm not really doing anything with that knowledge at this point. Okay, So if we're looking, I want to have a little more open up here, a little more kind of down. Again, we want this. We don't want sharp edges on things. Sharp edges on things are bad. Muscles and stuff don't like sharp edges. It doesn't work. And I want a little bit less as this goes. Let's take some of that off. Get a little more on the outside here. Yeah, this is our game of inches kind of thing. It doesn't take much to make something look good, and it doesn't take much for something that did look good to look bad again. So we're going to try to be subtle, subtle, subtle with how we go about doing this. Okay, let's see. I feel like I've already not done things well because I kind of need to smooth stuff onto the fingers, which is precisely what I never want to have to do. Am I on camera? Kind of, maybe. No, sorry. Sorry, I hadn't looked at the camera in a while. If I haven't been on camera for a while, I apologize over that. I just kind of looked over right there. And it's like, whoop, nope. All right, the other thing we don't want to do is we don't want to flatten the fingers as we do this either, because it's really easy to do that as well. We want to kind of keep them roundish. It's just when I did it, I made this part of the palm here stick out a little more than the fingers were ready for. I didn't want to skinny the palm up any because it was already skinny from kind of pushing down on stuff. So I just need to add a little bit to the fingers where typically I don't need to do this step, but here we are. It just is what it is. Yeah, this is one of those sessions that can go by really quick or it can take a long time. It depends how finicky everything wants to be. It would be nice if it's nice, quick, easy, and done, but sometimes it does get a little finickier than I want it to be. And this is turning into one of those times. But we're actually, as long as the end result works. Like I said, the one thing my boss told me right before I started doing the construction stuff was I don't care how long it takes you to do something, as long as you do it right. And that one is stuck with for a great many years, and it is true. In time, you learn how to do things more efficiently. In time, you learn how to do things faster. But when you're first starting out on stuff, it is more important to learn how to do things correctly before you try to impress somebody or whatever by going quick or doing this, that, or the other. No, get the basics done first. Learn how to do something the right way. All the other stuff will come after that. Again, you'll learn how to do things in time. You learn how to do things both more efficiently, and the more you do stuff, you kind of figure out how the parts that you're working on relate to the whole. So you know kind of order of operations and whatnot, which this is a great example. Yes, I want to do the hair, but if you step back and look at the whole thing, you realize I can't do that yet. I can't do that for a great while now. We have all this other stuff we need to do first. So that is a lot of what experience gives, is just knowing, you're getting a feel for your order of operations, what has to be done, what doesn't have to be done, We have that at work all the time. We might have like 3 things we need to get done, and you look back, you step back, okay, I can do whatever I want, and in whatever order I want, and then you look back and realize, oh, I need to do steps 1 and 2 so the plumber can come and do this, or I need to do steps 2 and 3 so the electrician can come and do this. I need to do these couple things so one of the other subs can come in and do their work. And whereas if I do number 3 on the list, that doesn't hold anything up. So all of a sudden you're looking around and going, okay, which steps of this are going to hold up other parts of the project if they're not done, even though they could technically all be done at the same time. And you start looking at things through that kind of lens. And I think that's one of the big ones of, okay, you're starting to get there, you're starting to understand how everything works. And that is one of the big, I think, if you want to advance in something, that's a lot of where things kind of come in, at least in my field. So we have that. You're now blended. What was I doing on you? I can do... where are we? You know what? Being as this hand is going to be different anyway, it's going to be clenched. Let's maybe jump to the back of the hand on him. And I'd forgot I was going to go back to him because we can see what's going on at the back of the hand here. He has some big old knuckles going on. He has it's the cut-off sleeves on the fingers. So it's the fingerless gloves. And then on top of the fingerless gloves, he has those big knuckles. And really, actually, if we come back here, if you look really closely again, I'm actually going to use my image just because we can look at it a little better on here. But if we look right here, you can see he has kind of the yellow lines that come off of that. So he has so he's going to have, first going to do cut off fingers, then he gets knuckles, and he has those lines come up. And then once that's in, this part is actually on top of all of that. So as long as you get this done, we're good. So with that in mind, let's go and stick you back up because we're going to do some cut-off sleeves. And I know there are a couple different ways to go about doing this. I'm not sure. I've done a number of these before. I'm still not sure which is the best way to go about this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these lines that are running all over my screen off because they're just annoying me right now. And we have a fairly thin piece. I don't think it really matters how thick it is. I just cut a little bit of you off. Cut that off. And I'm going to take this. And this is where things can very easily get me in trouble. Okay, I just thinned it out just a little bit more. And let's see, so where are you? So these fingerless gloves don't go very far. So there's a lot of hand actually showing off of these. So we get to start actually pretty far down on our list, on our hand here. And actually, you aren't big enough to go around that one. Let's use that guy, shrink it down just a little bit more. Because if I don't shrink this down, what can happen is if I try to tuck in on the side, it's going to kind of push the fingers apart. And over the course of all these fingers, the hand is going to come way out of proportion again. And I don't want that, like, at all. So we're just going to start with that. We're wrapped around there. I can now come take you, and once again, we're going to blend this half of it in by whatever means we can. Now this may change how the palm is if we're pushing down, putting pressure on here, whatnot. This may change things as we go just because these areas are so incredibly delicate that we're always kind of keeping an eye on that as we go down here. But the goal is to blend the bottom edge as neatly as we can. And in the end, once I get more than just this one glove in, it should hopefully start feeling like fingerless gloves going on. So as we can see, I put that on, it already pushed the other finger away. This is a very real problem that can be caused from doing this. So I'm going to try to be as cognizant as I can of that reality. And this, yeah, it's one of those delicate spots that it seems really easy until you try to do it, and it's like, well, maybe that does take some skill to do correctly. There is a technique involved. Now, so I'm going to take off some of the extra. So we're going to stick that in, bring you down, mold you back, and our goal is to kind of... we failed that a little bit. Alright, that's cool. I didn't fit the glove correctly. Because if you've ever worn the gloves before, it's either all the fingers are kind of straight across, or your middle one is going to be just a little bit down, just a little bit further than the other ones, not shallower than the other. So we got to make you go out just a little bit further than this one, if anything. So let's try that again. Again, now at this point, I really don't need to worry about the other hand. I may just, at this point now, I may just finish this hand off, not today, but I see about 15 or whatever minutes left, or 20 minutes to go. We're going to get so far. And I may just save the other hand stuff for when I get to the other hand stuff. Okay. And all of a sudden now, our hand is actually growing. If you remember at the start, we said we want the hand from here to here to be about a ½ inch. We are now a decent chunk above a ½ inch. So let's get you in here. So our hand has already grown beyond what I want it to be. So this is the trick, trying to keep it all together. We're putting all this stuff in here, but we also need to keep it within the scale of what we want it to be. We're still a hair big on that, but I can kind of work with what we have. What's the actual pose his hand is in? Let's see, we don't need you, don't need you. So the fingers are all 100% together on this. So I don't need this to wrap around the inside edge like it is here. The hands are all together. Or the fingers are all together. So I can just kind of trim you and push it in a little bit. Because his thumb comes in and his hands kind of come up like that. So let's see, we just getting a piece out here, roll it out a little thinner. I have the pasta roller, it'll do a thin enough thing, but for all intents, it's more trouble than it's worth just getting it ready for this. You've seen the magic of the pasta roller before. It's all good. That is, by and large, much larger than I needed it to be. So we can cut some stuff off. Cut a little off of that end. And then realize that really, apart from kind of like the quick jokes and stuff I was telling at the start of this whole thing, there's been so little actual dead time to just talk about other stuff this session, that's actually, I think, probably pretty good. You're probably tired of hearing about my running escapades and or stuff like that. But mostly because, yeah, this is a very kind of concentration-centric section to do. Once the hands are kind of done and I get them on the model itself, I feel a whole lot better at that point. It's just, I'm getting better at these. I'm having less issues that kind of randomly pop up from time to time than I did in the past, but it's still, you get kind of nerve-wracking stuff. And you probably have that in your day job too. You have things that you stress out about, and you go, why, I hate doing the X, Y, or Z. Or if you go in, like, you hate doing tests, or if you're like in school, you hate doing tests and stuff like that, or you have things you just don't like to do, but you still just got to do it anyway. And you realize you're just psyching yourself out a lot. And that's generally what stuff like this kind of feels like to me. I'm probably just psyching myself out. These things are fine. It's not this big, terrible thing. I can get through it. And again, as I had said back in session 6, or towards the end of, I think it was session 6, the one that started with the bad drawing thumbnail one, yeah, I have done the competitive learning type, competitive science competitions and whatnot back in school. If anybody does want to go over those types of ideas, tips, or tricks to deal with that type of thing, both on learning and the test-taking side of things, I can always come back and do one of those types of videos. So again, just in case, I know I don't have a huge audience yet at this point, but if anybody pops in later on down the road and I still haven't done one of those by that point, or if anyone's curious, yeah, I can still do that while that's on my mind. But that would only really be by I think a request. Alright, we can do the same kind of thing down here, because we're going to need it on the inside as well. So let's cut off the extra on that side. And if the extra wants to come off after being cut, that would be even better. We can actually kind of get both of these fingers at once in here, because I can kind of wrap around that. And if I just do this, that kind of gets those guys in as well. And as we can see, my fingers have grown, because my thumb started out at the base of the finger. Now the thumb is nowhere even near them. So this is part of the things that can move around slightly as we're going through all this stuff. And yeah, we need to, again, always be kind of cognizant of where everything is. Right now this is looking really, really bad. This is turning into like the last hand that I did, where everything just felt really not good. And then somewhere out of nowhere, it popped and it all worked again. And I'm getting very distinct vibes of the same thing kind of going on right now. So I don't know if this is good or not. Okay, we're gonna get a little bit in there. How are we dealing with on width? Our width is not good. Everything feels like it's falling apart. Which, yeah, like I said, when I did the rain one, my last one, the Night Witch Project one, this is exactly what happened on that too. It was just, the first like 3/4 went well, and then everything fell apart, and then somehow in the end it all worked. And I'm not sure how each step kind of went about their thing, but it just kind of did. So we're just gonna plow ahead on this. We're gonna go back to the back to the back of his hand, and it looks like on each knuckle this, it might actually be worth just sending it through here a little bit. Let's move things out of the way. Oh, let's start at 3 and see what that does for sizing. That seems kind of okay. 3 looks like you're fine for that. I'm going to want something a little bit thicker for the other. Let's go with 5. Okay. So as we can see, my pointer on the model, looking at his knuckles, they consist of 2 parts. There's an under part that's kind of like a little diamond kind of shape, and then there's kind of a poofy part that sits on top of that. So it's like you have the brass knuckle thing going. You have the part that holds the actual element on. So the part that holds the element on is going to be this thinner. You're feeling. You know what? I'm just going to make you a 4 instead. We're going to do a 4 and 5. Alright, we're off camera. I realize that you're missing everything. Alright, so we have our base is kind of... Ah, jeez. Something shocked me. Something shocked my leg underneath the desk or underneath the table. I don't know what that was. That was... I don't know if I had like a static discharge or something, but something got me pretty good. Okay, how big do we need to do these? This is almost modeled as if it's a single piece that can go across all of them. So what kind of size are we looking at? Are we looking at something like this? Also, where's our knuckle starting on you? We're coming up. So if we're going to have... Yeah, if we're looking, the knuckle is going to be kind of partway through you. So we're going to be probably something like that-ish. So what do we have? We have kind of coming something like there to something like there. That we come up. Oh boy, this is gonna be a trial. And I feel like I made you a little short, or I need my hand to come in just a little bit more. Also, I didn't put the sleeve on the thumb, but... Well, we're starting on this part now, so... Alright, pulling that off. This actually kind of wants to be... Well, I can make it a little more diamond-y as we go. Let's just get the big stuff in there. Not use that one. Okay, so we have, I didn't realize I was so far off of center on that, but we're working this. You're gonna make it all come together. Ah, come on off. Get out of there. You don't want to be there. Bad stuff will happen. Come on. Come on. I roll my eyes. Okay, once again, we have the wrong thing. Alright, we now have kind of the diamonds over the knuckles. Let's get a bunch of these little things kind of out of here. And realistically, I had rolled that out to be used as the top piece for this, but that is going to be pretty much unnecessary. I can just make a couple of these little kind of dots that you probably can't even see on your screen. And we're going to put a little dollop of those on top of each of these and kind of squish it in just a little bit. Give it a little kind of an angle on there. Doesn't need much. Okay, that's just a teeny bit too teeny. Don't want much more than that. It's huge. You can see that little bit winds up being pretty much exactly what we need. So once that's in, yeah, we put it on. Then I can just go and kind of round off the edge just a little bit, just so it's not this huge cancerous thing that's kind of stuck on top. It has a little something to it. That feels very big compared to the pinky one. Maybe not you. Maybe not you. Okay, so we have that going. We have our thumb kind of coming in. Part of this is just the wrist itself is feeling really big right now, and I don't need all of that, and that might be part of why none of this is feeling 100% correct. Also, if anything, the hand comes out just a little bit on the side here rather than coming in like it was. So let's just add a little bit more out here. What's our time at? Oh, we are at the hour mark, so we are actually done. So Fortunately, didn't even finish the hand I was hoping to get done, but we have a start on it. It's looking like something. We got the knuckles. We have the finger. We have a fingerless thing going on it. We have the knuckles on. Let me just see if I can give a little bit of the veining kind of coming down the side here, because all that is we bring a little bit of pressure down on that. That's going to kind of come in, and by the time it comes down all the way, it will then be covered by that piece. But I'm going to have a little bit of that going, and yeah, we are slowly getting ourselves in here, and that's going to come out down here somewhere. He's going to have big old hand kind of coming out. Take that. And that is where we stand at the moment. We can stick this one down here. And that's kind of where we stand at the moment. We have hands are started. So hopefully next time I'll finish doing this hand. We'll kind of get it attached to here. Hopefully get the kind of gauntlet on. And then hopefully then we'll start. The fabric on the sleeves, I think that's going to go by actually relatively quick. I think it's getting this hand and getting that gauntlet made are going to be the two time sinks on this. But we have a decent start. He's getting there. And until next time, enjoy.